In this video, I will talk about the body cavities. So this is the side view of the body cavities. It's divided into two parts. One is called dorsal body cavities, and this side is called the ventral or anterior body cavities. The dorsal has two other cavities. So one is the cranial cavity, and here is the brain located, and the vertebral cavity, and this is where the spinal cord is located and some of the nerves. The anterior or ventral cavity is made of the thoracic cavity in the chest area, abdominal cavity, and the pelvic cavity. So this is the anterior posterior view. You can see the cranial cavity, so cerebrum and cerebellum, all other parts of the brain is located. And here is the vertebral cavity, where is the spinal cord. The thoracic cavity has other smaller cavities. One of them is called pericardium, and here is the heart is located. Also, you have the mediastinum, other part of the mediastinum, and that is esophagus, trachea, bronchi, and some of the great blood vessels are located. So the pericardium is also part of the mediastinum. You have two lungs, and they are located in the pleural cavities. So each lung is surrounded by pleural cavities. So pleural cavity, pericardial cavity, the superior part of mediastinum, all of them are inside the thoracic cavity. Thoracic cavity is separated from the abdominal cavity by the diaphragm, which is a respiratory muscle and it's important for breathing. And then in the pelvic area, you have the pelvic cavity. So once again, you can see it here that the ventral cavity is made of the thoracic cavity, abdominal cavity, and pelvic cavity. The ventral cavities are made of serous membrane. Serous membrane is made of two types of tissues. One is a simple squamous epithelium, and the other one is the loose areolar connective tissue. So both of them together, that makes the serous membrane. And you have two of them, and in between there is a serous fluid, which is very slippery and reduces friction, so it's important for movement of organs. So this is a good example here that the two layers that you can see. The one that is closer or attached to the organ, that is called the visceral layer, and the one that is attached to the body wall, that is called the parietal layer. And in between you have the cavity, and they have different names. So the first one is called the pericardial cavity, and you can see there's two layers. One is the visceral pericardium or visceral layer, and that's attached to the pericardium of the heart, and the other one is the pericardial cavity, and that is it's a different layer. This is actually the visceral is attached to the epicard of the heart. So both of them together is called the pericardial layers, and in between you have the pericardial cavity. So that is where the fluid is there, and when the heart is moving, it reduces friction. Pleura are surrounding the lungs. There's two of them. So you can see that there's one of them is called visceral pleura, and this is directly attached to the lungs, and the other one is the parietal pleura, and that is directly attached to the chest wall. And you have a cavity here in between, and that's called the pleural cavity, and once again serous fluid is there. So that's continuously produced and absorbed. In the abdomen, you have the peritoneum. So peritoneum again has two different layers. So one is the visceral peritoneum that wraps around some of the organs, for example, the stomach, intestine, and part of the liver, and also the anterior part of the pancreas and kidneys. And then the other part is attached to the body wall itself. So that's the parietal peritoneum. So that goes directly to the body wall or abdominal wall. And inside in between, you have the peritoneal cavity. Abdomen has a lot of different organs, and that's why clinically you can divide it in two different ways. One is by 4 quadrants, and the other one is by 9 regions. So here is the 4 quadrants. So you can draw one line. This is the midline, so passing through the umbilicus, midline, goes all the way to the pubic symphysis and the sternum. And the other one is perpendicular to that, and it's usually below the rib cage. So here is the right upper quadrant, and then right upper quadrant you can see liver, you can see the gallbladder, part of the large intestine, and duodenum. On the left side you can see the stomach is there, and the spleen is there, and again part of the large intestine. The pancreas is located here, so you cannot say it's more to the left. And on the right lower quadrant, you have again a large intestine, but the majority of the small intestine. Appendix is also here. At the background here, you have the kidneys in this area. And on the left lower quadrant, you have the small intestine. You have part of the colon is there, and the left kidney in this area. So the other way that I said before is the 9 regions. So you have 2 lines here, and that is passing through the mid-clavicular line near the areola of the breast, and that is going through the inguinal ligaments. These are the inguinal ligaments. And then you have 2 other lines here that are perpendicular to that. So you have the epigastric region, and here you have part of the liver, you have the stomach is here, part of the pancreas is there, and gallbladder, part of it is there. And on the right hypochondriac, so that's below the rib cage, mainly you have the liver. On the left side, you have the stomach and you have the spleen. So pancreas again is the background and behind the stomach in this area, pancreas. And in the umbilical region, you have the transverse colon and you have the small intestine. In the right lumbar, you have the ascending colon, part of the small intestine, and also right kidney. And on the left side, you have the part of the colon. So descending colon is here, and part of the transverse colon and the small intestine and left kidney. In the hypogastric region, you have a small intestine and a urinary bladder. And the right iliac region, you have the appendix and cecum and part of the ascending colon. And on the left iliac region, you have the small intestine. You have a sigmoid colon there. If you have any question or comments, please write it in the section below, and I will try to answer it. If you like the video, please try to subscribe because I will post more videos. And thanks for watching, and see you until next time.